Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. Today we're talking about a few cards that are currently trending on the market. It has been a bit of a slower week, not too many crazy movements and such like that. We have nationals happening this weekend, and hopefully we will see some of the secret techs that people have been keeping up their sleeves for the last little while. If you guys are at the event, then best of luck to you all, but if not, I'm sure you guys will want to stay tuned and pay attention to the market anyways to try to jump on any opportunities that come up over the weekend. Let's get started. To kick things off, I first want to talk about Rescue Ace Hydrant. The Rescue Ace deck is, I think, one of the decks that benefits the most from the upcoming set Duelist Nexus. It introduces a couple of really cool cards for the theme, including an emergency teleport and a walking Book of Moon that floats down to another Rescue Ace monster, and I think it could possibly be a tier 1 deck within the next couple of formats. If not now, then perhaps after the next ban list that we see. I was looking at some of the things that the deck can do, and it does seem really scary. Anyways, Hydrant is a card that we've talked about a couple of times because it's such an important 3-up for the deck. It searches for a Rescue Ace monster once per turn, and it turns on one of your Rescue Ace spells or traps that was set this turn, which helps the strategy to accelerate a lot. So initially, no one really cared about Rescue Ace when the archetype was first announced, but after it got the support from Duelist Nexus, players in the OCG realized just how good it was, and it started to pick up the attention of players in the TCG as well. As a result, we have seen the card spike in price multiple times, up to as high as $25 to $30 per copy. Well, for right now, the card is down a little bit around the $18 to $20 mark. Honestly, I feel like the card isn't at too crazy of a price right now. It just feels more like people are waiting to see what happens between the card and the deck's performance and what rarity the cards actually come out in Duelist Nexus. If I were you guys and wanted to play Rescue Ace next format, I actually think that picking the card up right now is probably a pretty good idea. If the cards come out as commons or supers, then I would expect Hydrant to jump up in price, as the deck will be a lot more affordable overall than a lot of people would have been expecting, given the deck's status over in the OCG. I don't see the cards being reprinted anytime soon either, so if you can grab your set of Hydrants for around $50 to $55, I think that I would rather grab it now while it's still not too expensive, rather than roll the dice and see what happens to the price in a few weeks. Up next, there's Proxy F Magician. So this card is sort of related to Rescue Ace as well. It's actually a tech that was being used over in the OCG. So in Rescue Ace, you really want to be able to resolve the effect of Rescue Ace Turbulence, the card that sets 4 spell or trap cards from your deck, since that's going to be a huge source of advantage. In fact, it's so important that players will hold Infinite Impermanence or Effect Veiler for the Turbulence so that they don't get completely blown out. However, the way that players have adapted is that Rescue Ace players are using Proxy F Magician to conduct a fusion summon and bring out Mud Dragon of the Swamp. Mud Dragon can turn its attribute to fire and make it so that Turbulence can't be targeted by Veiler or Imperm, ensuring that its effect will be able to go through, which is honestly a really cool tech to see. This has been known for a little while, but we are just recently starting to see Proxy F Magician moving up in price. The card was only 50 cents or so for the super rare version from the OTS tournament pack, but since it's the card's only holo printing, they are now up to around $3 to $4 each. Of course, the card has 2 common printings that should basically be bulk, but a lot of players are naturally going to want to bling out their decks in the highest possible rarity. This is a card to dig up out of your holo bulk if you can, since it was definitely one of the more forgettable OTS pack supers from the last few years. On to the next one. Favorite Contact is a card that has been trending for the last few days. It's a hero card, so that's naturally going to make it a pretty head-turning card, since a lot of casual players are really big fans of the hero archetype. Its effect is pretty simple. You special summon a fusion monster by putting heroes from your hand, field, graveyard, or banished pile to the bottom of your deck. So I think it was Team Samurai X1 that posted a hero deck profile a few days ago, where he shows off how you can use Favorite Contact to make Shining Neos Wingman to pop 2 cards on your opponent's turn, which is pretty cool. Of course, you do have to run the vanilla Neos to do the combo, so maybe it's not as great as everyone's been thinking. Anyways, the other thing to note is that technically, Power of the Elements wasn't on the list of sets to be included in the Megatins this year, probably because it got an unlimited run already. Now, we don't know if that means there will be 0 cards from Power of the Elements, or if it means that they'll only be including a few and didn't think it was worth mentioning, so we'll just have to wait until the Megatins come out to find out. However, of course, Hero players have gone and decided to buy a bunch of copies of Favorite Contact just in case the card doesn't get reprinted. I think that at one point a couple of days ago, this card was around $8 each, but it has since then cooled back down to around the $5 mark. Considering that this card was only $1 or $2 before, I think that this is still pretty decent, but honestly it isn't a card I would be looking to hold on to for too long. I have probably a dozen or so copies that I'm going to look to offload over the next couple of weeks, since I feel like the card is overhyped given the recent release of the new Flame Wingman Infernal Rage in Battles of Legend Monstrous Revenge, and I think that you guys should dig your copies out to offload them as well. On to the next one, it is Zombie Warrior. So Zombie Warrior is a level 3 zombie vanilla monster from back in OTS Tournament Pack 1 as its only printing, and apparently this card is being used in Punk Zombies as a Ready Fusion target. With Ready Fusion, this card can easily be summoned out without burning your normal summon, and this is useful because of the new Ghost Zombie cards from Battles of Legend Monstrous Revenge, specifically Ghost Fusion. If you have lower life points than your opponent, you can just use one zombie monster from your side of the field, and then banish a zombie from your hand, deck, or graveyard in order to conduct the fusion summon, which is pretty cool, so it really helps to have that free zombie body onto the field already, and Ready Fusion even requires you to pay 1,000 life points so that Ghost Fusion is live. Even though you run Zombie World in the deck, of course, you still want the monster you summon out to be a zombie itself, just in case you don't have access to Zombie World yet. So Zombie World only has one printing here in the TCG, and it was actually a short printed common card from OTS Tournament Pack 1, so a fairly old card now, that was already a bit difficult to pull, and because of this the card is now up to $20 a piece, which is a lot for an OTS common card. If you guys do have this card, I would probably recommend dumping it now, since it is just seeing niche usage in the one strategy. On top of that, we do have another budget alternative in Flame Ghost, who is also a level 3 zombie fusion monster that can be summoned by Ready Fusion. The difference is a little bit of stats. I don't think the stats are really going to be all that relevant, since the monster you summon with Ready Fusion can't attack in the first place, but I guess people will want whatever the objectively best option is. But yeah, with that budget option available, if you can find someone that's willing to pay up for a copy of Zombie Warrior, even if it's only like $12 to $15, I would go ahead and make the sale while you can, while you have someone that's actually looking for the card. So this one's sort of a weird one. It is Whiz Sage for Hire. This monster is actually one of the less popular cards from the For Hire archetype. I remember opening a couple boxes of Dark Saviors, and this was the card I absolutely did not want to see at all. Even as a secret rare, I think it was only like a 25 or 50 cent card, something like that. Well, now Whiz is actually getting a bit of attention as an option in Sprite Runic for Hire. Whiz lets you gain 500 life points for each monster for hire that you control, so it has the potential to win you the game in time, and whereas its counterpart Raphael can negate monster effects, Whiz can negate spells and traps, which might be useful in matchups like Labyrinth and Runic. That being said, Whiz isn't too crazy price-wise, but the secrets are now $2 to $3 each, which is still a jump up from the 25 to 50 cents it was before. Keep in mind that there is a common version as well, which I'm pretty sure everyone thought of as a bulk card. Those are between 50 cents and $1. You can probably get $1 out of someone if you're trading this card to them. This one is just to note for you guys that may have a bunch of these lying around in your bulk, so that you can go dig them out and see if you can get some sort of value out of them while there's even a little bit of demand for a card. On to the next card, it is the Unchained Soul of Rage. This is a Link 2 monster that requires one of the monsters you use to make it be an unchained monster. It has a pretty simple yet really strong effect, where during your opponent's main phase you can target an opponent's monster and conduct a Link summon with that monster and this card into a Dark Link monster, which is pretty cool. And then if this card is destroyed, you do get to add a Fiend monster from your graveyard back to your hand. So obviously this is a card that you can do some pretty cool things with, and we have a couple of new Unchained cards coming to the TCG in Duelist Nexus. One deck that a lot of players are looking forward to, including myself, is Labyrinth Unchained, since both archetypes are more control-oriented Fiend strategies, and they have a lot of synergy. It'll be a lot of fun to play. I don't know about the deck being top tier, but at a local or regional level, I think the combination could do really well. Unchained Soul of Rage is the one card I really want to pay attention to from the Unchained archetype in terms of price. I believe that this card is probably one that you're going to run 2 to 3 copies of, 3 if you're playing pure, 2 if you're playing with the Labyrinth stuff, Right now, the cards are still relatively cheap, right? Especially the main deck stuff, since it's mostly in lower rarities. We have the Secret Soul of Rage at $6, and then we have the Ultra printings at around $2 to $3. But of course, with these being the only 2 printings of the card, you will still want to keep an eye on them over time, since there's a good chance that they will go up the longer they go without a reprint. Keep this in mind as you guys go into your Duelist Nexus sneak peeks, since there will definitely be players looking to pick these up that you'll be able to trade these off to. And finally, there's one last card I want to briefly mention, which is Snowdrop the Rika Fairy. This card is a key card for the Rika Sinavalon deck, which has won the European Championships for the last couple of years. Honestly, it shouldn't be too surprising, the deck hasn't been hit at all really, so it's still at kind of like the same strength as it was before. Obviously we have new decks in the format, but a lot of those have been hit since then as well. I think that a lot of people don't like playing against this deck and find it sort of confusing, which is probably a big thing that helps the deck to perform so well. Anyways, Snowdrop is an important card for the deck. It summons out itself and another plant from your hand, and it lets you match all of the levels of your plants on the field so that you can make an Xyz play as well, which is pretty neat. Basically, all I want to point out here is that Snowdrop is still a $15 card. The card only ever got 1 printing from back in Secret Slayers, and while some Rika cards have gotten reprinted in various places, such as how Teardrop and Glamour came out in Maze of Memories, Snowdrop is the one piece that remains overly expensive due to the fact that it only ever got 1 printing. If for whatever reason you guys still have this card lying around somewhere and you don't plan on running this in your deck, you will probably want to offload the card because the reprint is almost certainly on Konami's reprint radar by now. Alright guys, that is all we have for today. A bit of a slower time recently, but we should have some exciting things happening within the next couple of weeks. We obviously have Nationals, which is going to shake things up, but Duelist Nexus is also set to come out in a few weeks, and we should start to see some of the spoilers for that set soon enough. It brings with it some really cool cards like Revolution Synchron, which is definitely going to cause some things to happen with the market. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch, please make sure that you let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure that you guys leave a comment in the comment section down below and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.